Alright guys, now it's time for us to retopologize our character. Now, when we retopologize this, we have to think smartly about what we really need because we are going to put this in the game engine, and since this is a game character, we need to have it as optimized as possible. And the first thing that we're going to retopologize is going to be the character mesh right here, the one that I have selected. Now we have to think about the part of the character mesh that's actually going to be showing. So we know that the head and the neck, a little bit of the chest is going to be showing. We know that the lower arm and the hands is going to be showing. Now, as far as the torso and the upper arms and the legs and the feet, it's not really going to show. So basically, the ones that we need to retopologize are going to be the areas that are going to be showing, which is the lower arms and the head and the neck and a little bit of the chest area. So we really don't have to retopologize the rest of the body. So all these here, we could just not have this retopologized because it's going to be covered by the shirt and the pants by the clothing. All right. Now you're probably asking me, okay, so what was the point of us sculpting the entire body if we know that he's going to be wearing clothing and shoes and it's going to be covered? Well, think about this. If you don't have your entire body of the character, you don't have the entire anatomy there, it'll be so much more difficult for you to create an accurate representation of the folds and the clothes and how it interacts with the human anatomy without the human anatomy actually being there to use as a reference. So that's why it was important for us to shape out the body and shape out the torso and the legs. That way, we're going to be able to create more believable clothing that conforms much more realistically on the character structure of the body, okay? Without having the anatomy there, is going to look very strange, your clothing, because you don't have really any reference to use there. So, and plus it's just a lot easier. This is a character course, so it's good for us to always practice the anatomy, and it's really fun anyways to be able to sculpt the six-pack, the chest, and the legs, and just refreshing our memory and anatomy. But with that said, since this is going to be a game character, we need to optimize this as much as possible and only retopologize the stuff that we need, and which will definitely save us time because we are going to be animating this, and then we'll be putting it in the Unreal Engine. So there's a lot of stuff to do here, and we rather spend those time in the things that we really need. And in the game industry, this is basically how it's done anyways. I want to show you exactly how it's done. Things that are going to be showing are the ones that are the most important. So yeah, let's go and just retopologize. Let's go ahead and Shift A, Mesh, create a plane, RX 90 degrees. And let's go ahead and just scale it. And we can go ahead and move it a little bit forward and move it up, and scale it. You gotta move it to the side. So I'm moving it close to this side of the face because the first thing that we're going to create a topology for is around the eye area. Now you can see that the color of the plane here is matching the skin tone of the character. So what we need to do is we need to make a material, brand new material, and we're gonna change the color of that plane to make it easier for us to distinguish the new topology from the old one. So I'm gonna call it topology color, and then we go to the viewport display and just change it. You can change it to any color that you want. I do like to keep it a desaturated color so it's easier in the eyes. Another thing that we should do is we need to go ahead and turn on the snap key right here and click on the drop down arrow right here. Set it to face nearest. By doing that, we're going to be able to snap our vertices on the mesh of the character's face. We hit the tab key. Right now, it looks like I still have my measurement turned on. I'm going to go to my viewport overlay and turn off edge length. And I'm going to go and set this to tweak, very important. If we set it to tweak, we're going to be able to select the points easier and then just snap it right on the surface. The first time that you try to snap it on the skin, you might experience a little lagging. But after that, everything should be good to go. So just go and try to snap it here. You can see this it's kind of sinking in, right? So what we need to do is we need to go to our object properties, viewport display, and turn on in front, okay? So once again, object properties, viewport display, in front. That way you're going to be able to see the geometry much easier. And yeah, the first thing that we could do here is we could just go ahead and create the geometry, the topology, the clean topology that we need for the eye area. And for the eye area, what we really need is going to be a geometry that goes all around like a circular loop conforming to the shape of the eye. And the reason why we need this here is because the rigger is going to be animating the eyes, closing and opening and winking the eyes, and this is the geometry that the rigger animator will be using. Okay, so let's go ahead and press E to extrude. Another thing that we could do to make this, alright, so another thing that we could do to make this stick onto the mesh a lot better is we could go to object mode, we could go to modifier and set this, add a shrink wrap modifier onto our topology here. And on our target right here, click on the eyedropper and then click on the character mesh. Alright, so that will make it stick to our geometry, the plane stick to our character mesh easier, especially when we start to create more and more geometry around here. Alright, and just go ahead and make it go all around. What I also like to do is I like to go to my face here, like select a face, and then Shift D to make a copy. So it makes a copy right there. I like to move it all the way up. All the way up. I kind of have it stick onto the mesh. This, and have it stick onto the mesh. You might want to have to play around with your view because it might look good in one view, but then when you look at the other view, it's sinking in too much. So be very careful. And we could add a little bit more mesh right there. Go. So around the area where you feel like it's kind of sinking in, maybe you need a little bit more geometry there. And I'm gonna go ahead and extrude this out. Like around the area where I know there's gonna be the division between the upper eyelid and the lower lid, I could add an extra geometry here. Like this. Okay, and then I'm gonna go here and extrude this out. Extrude again, and we could kind of move this. I'm gonna select this and this. Press F to bridge. And going through that out. Once again, looking this side, then looking this side. Very important to do that. Extrude. Once again. Extrude. Rotate, and so just following the shape of the eyes, going all around. This requires lots of patience, so make sure you look all around your mesh. So if you saw the mesh, like you see there's a little issue here where you see this geometry. It looks like it's sticking onto the mesh, right? But if you look at this part right here, you have a little issue. So if you see that, you really have to pay attention to this and just kind of move it up like that. And then look in all views, make sure everything is sticking. And extrude. Yeah, around the face, the eye area here, we can't really jump and skip too much, you know. You gotta do little by little. I know it's really tempting to just like extrude all the way like this, but sometimes you're gonna get issues. So just make sure that around this area, you just kind of take your time, and especially the eyes. The eyes is just really the most important part of the character. It's definitely the part of the character that make or break our personality of the character. So just extrude. So you can see I'm going back and forth between just extruding the edges and then going back and forth and then just shaping the vertices as needed. And around the areas where there's really a lot of curves here, I just like to add some extra geometry on there. But the point of this is to try to make it as squarish as possible, the geometry. Now there's going to be some areas like around here where that's going to be impossible because you're going to have to need some extra geometry there. But for the most part, try to keep it as evenly as possible and distribute as evenly as possible the geometry, and also as squarish as you can. Alright, and of course when we have this side of the eye, we also want it on the other side. So we go to object mode and we go to move tool. You see the move tools all the way over there. We want to go to set origin to 3D cursor, so it's going to be in the middle of the grid, right? Our cursor is definitely in the middle of the grid. And we need to add a mirror here, so we could go here and add a mirror. So now whatever we do on one side, it does it on the other. Now the next loop that we need to create for our topology is going to be the loop that goes around this area of the face, around the eye. So we're going to create this loop going around the brow ridge, on below here on the side, and on below the eye area here. By adding this loop here, the animator is going to be able to animate the eyebrows. So if you want to make your character look mad, or if you want to make your character look sad, that is going to be the loop. One of the loops that are going to allow the animator to create that facial expression. Or if you want to kind of animate the upper part, the nasolabial fold here, a little bit of the cheeks, this is going to be a little bit, the loop is going to be affecting that. And so we need that loop. So we can go select our mesh that we already have, hit the tab key, and we can go ahead and just select this one of the polygons here really, and shift D to just make a copy and just kind of move it up here. And then go to vertex and just kind of move it. Move it. Okay. Yeah, let's go ahead and just start extruding this. And yeah, just gonna make it go all around. Down some more, and have it connect. So it has to snap and connect in the middle. And to do that, we need to go to our mirror and turn on clipping right here. So now when we go ahead and snap it, it's merging together, all right? Very important you do that. And gonna make this go a little higher like that. And slightly higher. And we could kind of make it go all around. All around. What we could also do is we could go to our face selection, select this face, and we could already kind of, yeah, we could go and duplicate that. All right, so we got something that we could work with here. Extrude. And extrude. Extrude again. Extrude it out. And have it connect like somewhere on the bridge of the nose like that. This, make it go down. I think this part was slightly too thin, so I could make it slightly thicker. You don't want, the thing that you want to avoid is you don't want to make the geometry too dense at the beginning, so just be aware of that. Because if you make it too dense, then you have too many geometry to start out with already. It's going to be just more difficult to work with. I think I'm just going to go ahead and dissolve this edge because I have too many. It's best to start out little and then add more if you need to later, okay? You don't want to have a bunch of geometry. At the same time, you don't want it too low where you're not able to form the shape of the character. You gotta find a sweet spot. And once again, this also depends also on how detailed your character is. So if you're doing a realistic character, you might need a little bit more to start with than a stylized character. If it has more forms, like what we have right now. But just don't go overboard at the beginning because it's going to be difficult later on to manipulate this, okay? All right, so if you look here, it kind of looks like a sun visor. So that's how it looks like at the beginning. All right, try to make it as evenly distributed as possibly can. Like that. All right, I think it's looking good. Very nice. Okay. Now the next thing that we need to do is going to be the loop that's going around the lip area. All right. And we also need a loop that's going around the nose and then taking on to the shape of the nasolabial fold right here. See this fold on the face? We need some loop going around that way. And then taking on to the form of the chin area here. It's good to have this loop right here, very important. So in case your character is going to smile or lift up the mouth, this is one of the geometry to use to manipulate and make that facial expression. So I think we're going to make this loop first, and then later on we're going to move on to do the circular loop for the lip area. So I think it's best to do this first because we are able to grab the geometry close by. So we can go ahead and select this and Shift D, and it's just right nearby right here. We need that loop right near here. Extrude and extrude, have it snap. There you go. Then extrude. Extrude again. extrude, again, and extrude here, and go. We might need to add some more geometry here later, but it's okay. We can go back to do that. Right now, looks like I'm kind of skipping ahead. Like around the areas where it's a little flat on the surface, I could actually jump and do a big skip here with extrusion. But around the areas where there's a lot of curves, that's when you're gonna need more geometry to start with. As you retopologize more and more, the more you will experience what I'm experiencing and know exactly where to put these. Extrude and extrude and connect it right here, right? And of course, I think we need to add more loops, certain areas here. Add one here, and maybe another one right here. Alright, so we got a nice loop going on the area. Probably could add another geometry here. Gonna round that out like that. And I think make it closer. Okay. Alright, next loop is going to be for the lip area. We go ahead and select a geometry that we need. Shift D to make a copy. And yeah, just gonna go ahead and move it close to the lip area here. And while we're here, we could also go ahead and select this. Shift D to make a copy, and go. I think by doing this, by doing one side and doing the other side separately and then bridging them and connecting them is a lot easier, because you're going to be able to see the overall picture of the topology right away, rather than doing one side and then going all around. Yeah, from my experience, this way is better. Yeah, I think around here we could kind of connect right there. And we could do some sculpting around this area, of course. And next thing that we're gonna have to do is the geometry that's going around this way, all around like this. So connecting to the loop of the lips onto the nasolabial fold loop here, and then onto the shape of the cheeks here, and above here, the brow ridge, above the brow ridge, and all around. And this loop is also going to allow the lifting of the mouth and the lifting of the nasolabial fold in the cheeks, and also the lifting of the brow ridge, lifting of the parts of the fold of the skin here on the forehead. So we're going to need that loop. Okay, and same thing that we're going to do. just gonna go ahead and select the polygon, one of the polygons right here, and Shift D to make a copy. Select the edge and just kind of snap that, move that up slightly. Maybe we could go ahead and select one of the polygons here, Shift D. There you go. Then I could go ahead and move that down and extrude that out. So we're gonna kind of have it meet up around this area, and then maybe go and select one of the polygons here and extrude that down right here. Maybe scale it up slightly around the cheeks here. Then I'm gonna go and extrude this, rotate. Gonna have it connect there and extrude. So I'm thinking about this. Could probably connect, do some connection. Could probably bridge this way. Yeah, I think that'll be a good area to bridge it on. I think I'm gonna go ahead and lift this up slightly. Go. Yeah, this area would be good to bridge. So I'm gonna go select this and extrude. Scale it slightly, trying to align it up already, and then bridge it. Press F to bridge, and same thing. Select this and this, press F to bridge. And then this here, we can go and kind of have it meet up where it needs to meet up here. Go. And around this area, go ahead and extrude this out, scale it, probably scale this slightly. Extrude, scale, and then bridge it. And then kind of straighten these out. Maybe kind of round this out slightly to take on the shape of the cheeks here. Try to keep it as evenly distributed as much as you can. Go. Trying to keep it clean. And I think I could make it go slightly closer here. Alright, that's good. And the next thing that we have to do is going to be for the face area here. So we could create a loop going around all around here onto the side of the jaw and onto the chin, and loop like that, just so that we have a break for where the loop of the geometry is for the face, and on the forehead onto the ear. This will give a nice silhouette of the face also. Okay, so we could go ahead and create that loop. Gonna go ahead and Shift D to make a copy of this geometry, rotate, and just gonna move it and extrude, and then okay, go ahead and select the geometry here and Shift D to make a copy. So thinking about where it's gonna go, maybe yeah, right around there. So here we could go ahead and extrude. Keep on extruding. And for this one, we could just have it a meetup already. Sure that out. And a meetup right there. And could add another one. Nudge that. Make it slightly rounder. And then here, you could grab one of these, Shift D to make a copy. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and pull that up slightly like this. And then could use one of the geometry here, Shift D. And just gonna lay it right there. Like this. So I know this is gonna shape out the angle of the side jaw here. There you go. And around here we could kind of have a meet up. Go. And just gonna straighten these out. Gonna have it follow the silhouette of the face better. And then distribute this a little bit more evenly. Okay, so I think I'm gonna set to 2 cuts there. Right, and I'm gonna go ahead and just have it meet up all the way down. And I think I could use one of the polygons there, Shift D to make copy, rotate, yeah, something like that. So this would be the middle ground where they could have each other meet up. And continue to extrude. There you go. There you go. And just looking all around. I'll probably move that up. Gonna take the shape of the chin. Alright, and the last loop that we're gonna need on the face is around the ear area. So we want to have a somewhat of a circular loop around here, all around the front, onto the back area. When we kind of navigate, you see how this part's really annoying. It's kind of hard to see the back of the head when we start to retopologize the head. It's gonna be hard. So I think to make it easier for us to see what's going on at the back, we go to our drop down arrow for our viewport shading and turn on back face culling. There you go. So that's gonna be a lot easier. So if you have this on, see how it's really annoying to retopologize like that. So yeah, turn that off. Turn that on, yes. Alright, and yeah, so we could make sure to have the loop go all around, like up to here, right? So that will just let us know the division of the ear area, and also just make sure that it shapes out the overall shape of the ear here. I think that's a good look to have. All right, so I think we could do is maybe make this go closer here, like that. Then we could select one of these and make a copy of that. And extrude it. Extrude. This, when we go in this area, this is where we have to be very careful, where the ear part here is kind of close to the head. When you have a geometry that close, you're gonna have to take our time on that part. Yeah, and just go ahead and extrude. Do this very slowly, because this ear, of course, the ear has a lot of curves. So when you're doing a lot of curves, this is where you're gonna have to take more time on getting the silhouette down. Probably around this area, we're gonna have to use some triangles later, because we're gonna have some parts here that's gonna have more geometry than certain areas of the side of the face and the head. And the only way to reduce the polygons and to make sure that they blend in properly is to use triangles in some areas. There's really nothing wrong with using triangles as long as you just limit them, because the thing is, everything here when we put in the game engine is gonna turn into triangles anyway, so there's really nothing to fear too much about triangles. And plus, the game engine is getting better and better with handling any type of topology, and so we won't have to worry so much about any shading issues, which is good, because we're gonna be able to focus more on the art side than having to deal too much with all the technical stuff. Oh, so select this edge and this edge. Oh, hold shift and select, press F to bridge. And gonna round this out. Make sure you're looking at all views as you're doing this. Maybe I could kind of bring this out slightly. Bring this out like this, and down, down. Go. Looking all around. Alright, so I think we have a pretty good set of loops here that we could definitely use when it comes to creating the topology for our character. I think this is it for the face area.